For almost 30 years, Berrien Springs Training Group has partnered with a multitude of community, state, and national entities to develop and deliver engaging, skill-based training for administrators, supervisors, and staff. Our reputation is built on a commitment to our 6 principles of partnership, which provide the foundation for our team, our organization, and our work with our partners. Utilizing these unique principles to inform a truly collaborative process, we introduce innovative and cutting-edge ideas, act as change agents, and train best practice in human services. As you can clearly see, underlying all of our efforts is a firm belief in the need for and the power of working as partners. While this is a fine goal, in order to hold ourselves accountable, we have to know what it means to work in partnership. What does that look like in our day-to-day interactions? How do we show up in our work with each other? What attitudes, language, and behaviors lead to true partnership? Hi, I'm Dan Comer with the Berrien Springs Training Group. When we first began helping others to improve their partnerships, we knew that we had to lay a foundation, a framework that could guide individuals' attitudes, language, and actions. We created the 6 Principles of Partnership in 2001 as both a philosophical and practice foundation, and to provide a common language for groups to use to improve their partnerships at all levels. The principles: everyone desires respect, everyone needs to be heard, everyone has strengths, judgments can wait, partners share power, and partnership is a process, are hard to argue with. However, the real magic and the real work involves how one puts these principles into practice. Tolstoy has said, it's easier to produce 10 volumes of philosophical writings than to put one principle into practice. And we've discovered and been reminded many times over how true this quote is. It's one thing to have a principle, it's something else entirely to actually and consistently put it into practice at a high level. The language of the Principles of Partnership is purposefully and deceptively simple. As with all good principles, the meaning and the practice of the principle goes much deeper. We hope this short video serves as a way of laying the foundation for you to begin a journey towards true partnership. Please join me as I briefly discuss each principle of partnership one by one. Everyone desires respect. This principle suggests that all people have a value and a right to have some control over their own lives. Accepting this principle leads one to treat others with respect and to honor their opinions and worldview. True partnership is impossible without mutual respect. Not many people argue with the benefits of respecting others. Remember the golden rule? Treat people like you want to be treated? And it's often true. If you treat others with respect, they have a tendency to treat you the same. However, a challenge comes when you're in a disagreement or an actual conflict with the other person or system. Then respect becomes a little harder. Another thing that makes respecting others difficult is that respect looks different to different people. A simple example of this is that for some people, using their first name is respectful. For others, only using their first name might feel disrespectful. Therefore, putting this principle into action actually requires what we call the Platinum Rule. The Platinum Rule is to treat others as they want to be treated. And as you can imagine, to put the principle, everyone desires respect, into action requires us to slow down, to become aware, and to ask a lot of questions. All of these are skills that we don't use a lot in today's fast-paced world. Everyone needs to be heard. This principle also seems simple, but in actuality, it's incredibly hard to put into practice on a regular basis. It goes beyond the simple act of listening. This principle asks us to seek first to understand by putting aside our needs and agenda for just a while and to listen with a sincere desire to truly hear the other person's perspective before communicating our point of view. When we are truly able to do this, resistance and defensiveness often melt away. And, by the way, many times when the other person feels understood, they then become willing to make an attempt to understand us. And now you have real communication happening, rather than parties just attempting to push their perspectives on each other. We've found that the key to putting this principle into action is our intent during any interaction. If our intent is to understand the other, at least initially, then the potential magic of this principle unfolds. If, however, our intent is to get our point of view across first, what often happens is simply a battle of messages with neither side listening to the other perspective. Two things help us have the intent to understand. First of all, recognizing that to understand someone does not mean agreeing, accepting, condoning, or anything else. It just means understanding. And second, understanding someone else's perspective actually puts us in a better position to advocate for our perspective, because we then know how the other person is thinking and feeling, which allows us to shape our message in a way that makes sense to our potential partner. Everyone has strengths. This principle means that all people have resources to share. Beyond the obvious ones, these strengths may include past successes, abilities, dreams, and resiliencies. Now, implementing this principle requires us to not just know someone's strengths, but to actually use these strengths to help create individual solutions to concerns and needs. In our work with any stakeholder, for example, this principle might guide us to co-develop unique solutions for issues based on their particular experiences, strengths, culture, and resources, rather than mandate a one-size-fits-all kind of solution. Judgments can wait. This principle asks us to become aware of the assumptions that we make about others and their situations. We naturally make judgments in all situations, and it's inherent in a lot of the work that we do. But the danger is that once a judgment is made, we have an almost unstoppable tendency to stop gathering new information, or we interpret new information in light of our previous assumptions. Acceptance of this principle means being willing to hold our judgments lightly, to stay open to new information, and be willing to change our minds if that new information warrants it. What do you see? When we uncover the missing pieces of letters, what phrase do you believe we will see? Whoops! Especially in our fast-paced world, we often fill in missing information based on our previous judgments. And as we see, this can lead to mistakes. Putting this principle into action requires us to slow down, ask a lot of questions, and to keep an open mind to all possibilities. This next principle, partner share power, recognizes that power differentials create obstacles to real partnership. Whomever has more power in a relationship has the responsibility to find ways to attempt to balance the difference in power so that partnership can happen. The payoff of truly sharing power is that buy-in, mutual responsibility, and follow-through often increase. Now, there are natural power differentials inherent in all hierarchies, between supervisors and those that they supervise, between child welfare systems and the families that they serve. Partnership is clearly still a possibility in all these situations, but it requires partners to consciously look for both the large and small ways that our power can be shared. Some specific examples that we have seen of sharing power include administrators being transparent with their decisions, consciously sharing as much information as they possibly can, supervisors creating a structure to receive confidential feedback from the staff that they supervise, and in differential response practice, workers making appointments, when possible, with families, rather than just showing up at the front door unannounced. It is most often these simple kinds of steps done over and over that gradually reduce power differential and helps lead to greater partnership. The last principle, that partnership is a process, recognizes that each of the 6 principles is part of a whole. Each principle supports and strengthens the others. For example, recognizing your partner's strengths and using them to arrive at a unique solution requires that you listen well and it feels respectful to that partner. This last principle also acknowledges that while we all know how to relate to our partners in this way, doing so consistently is a challenge and requires focus and effort. We must have both the intention to put the principles into practice and pay attention to our behavior to keep ourselves on track. No one achieves partnership. We're always in the process of partnership. It's something we aspire towards and continue along the path, making steps forward and occasionally even falling back. A good example of this last principle is that when we do make a mistake, and we apologize. We make corrections where we can, and we learn from our mistakes. Well, there you have it, a very brief overview of the principles of partnership. Remember that putting the principles into action is an aspiration. No one can do it all the time. We do hope that you allow the principles of partnership to guide your behavior when interacting with others, that they provide a common language for discussing how to do this, and that you use the principles to pinpoint where any improvement in partnership with others might be needed. Berry Springs Training Group has a national reputation for developing memorable training that gives participants concrete tools with which to put the principles of partnership into practice in any role or any setting. Please contact us to begin a conversation about how we may assist you in your pursuit of partnership.